Welcome back to TnT Extracted, a high risk, high reward gaming podcast. I am your host, The Lucky Tuna.
And I'm your co-host, Tactical Donuts.
Welcome back to the podcast. So last episode we went over some budget gun builds. Tac did a really good in-depth overview of farm. I think we got a lot of good information. We had some feedback from the community that said they liked it, so we're going to continue that on this podcast as well. Some of the things we're going to go over in this podcast are going to be like your different forms of loot, guns, and some of the new updates that we're going to be seeing here. We might even do some mentioning of some cheater clips, community builds, socials, and some comment questions.
I'm excited.
The first thing we're going to talk about is lockdown loot versus forbidden loot. Tat, what is your thoughts on the difference of lockdown loot versus forbidden loot?
Honestly, right now, I don't think they're that too far apart. With the gap is not too far apart. In the start of the season, lockdown was pretty solid with loot, and then forbidden had its own class, and now they're kind of closing the gap on each other. I haven't been finding as many reds in lockdown, even when playing forbidden. The loot's been kind of spotty, and I don't know if it's they kind of wait in like mid-season and they start like kind of digressing the loot. But I don't know. What do you think? I know you've been finding some reds.
Yeah, so I've been primarily on lockdown this season. I have spent a little time in forbidden. Last season, I definitely spent more time in forbidden than I did this season. Last season, I felt like it was a huge jump in loot. It's like everywhere you go, you open a dresser drawer, a storage container. There were golds everywhere. This time around, I feel like you're right. I feel like there's definitely a bigger or a less of a margin between the two. There feels like lockdown still provides very good loot. Even just yesterday, we went to a lockdown Northridge hotel, and every single safe we pulled a red from, and that was just lockdown. I do think that maybe a loot buff is needed, and that may not come across as good because I just said we pulled a bunch of reds, but that's a very uncommon situation. I feel like loot, especially in lockdown, feels lackluster because there's a lot of times where, depending on what map you run, like I did a lot of Valley lockdown runs, you can go the whole map without pulling a red. You can run 2 or 3 times and hit every safe and not pull a red. And I feel like there should at least be 1 red on the map in a lockdown run. At least 1.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, and it's funny, we just talked about this, and a lot of people actually had good feedback. So I appreciate you guys leaving feedback about the economy in Arena right now. And I think that it's crazy to me that they're gonna raise everything, all the prices on everything, and then it's kind of like they're kind of decreasing loot. And I mean, I understand a lot of the players since you don't, there's no wipe like in Tarkov where they wipe your account back to 0. It's you just keep stacking. But like, I just think that okay, we got a lot of bigger ticket items off the market that you can craft now, but I think that you should be able to find, like you said, a red should be on the map every single time, especially if you're hitting all these safes. One thing that I want to add to this is keys. I mean, keys are very expensive. I mean, I think the last time I saw the master bedroom key for farm, it was like 3 to 4 mil. And it's like, if you're not, even in lockdown, if you're hitting it, 2 use key, and you're pulling no red, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, I've done so. I do a lot of key runs. Usually, especially if I'm playing by myself, I'll hit every single key if I can, and it kind of feels bad if you manage to hit every single key in a run and not pull a red. Sometimes like you don't even pull high value golds out of there, and it just kind of feels bad. Speaking of like running and running for loot, what maps do you think are the best to run specifically for gaining loot?
Honestly, I think, I mean, I know I'm a little biased, but I would say Armory and Northridge TV is a good option, right? Because TV has a lot of safes as well. But for me and my play style, Armory and Northridge. Northridge actually recently, I used to not like Northridge at all, but it has a lot of safes in it. I mean, you go to hotel and just even outside of hotel. I don't know the exact amount, but I know in hotel, let's see. So there's at least like 5 to 6 safes in hotel. And if you're running a
Yeah,
squad,
counting all the keys, all the
mhm,
free safes in hotel, there's a ton, and there's a lot of places like sewage or camp services where there may be two safes there, but two safes there is kind of crazy, and they're right beside each other. Like they're very condensed in Northridge. So if you're at an area where there's a safe, there's usually a few right there that you can manage to hit if you're quick enough without even running into a player.
yeah, no, I agree. I've really grown recently to like Northridge a lot, minus obviously getting caught out in the open. Never a good time.
For loot runs, for me, I have to agree 100%. I think the best overall map for loot, especially condensed loot, and the maps that feel like the safes drop the best loot, it would be Armory. But the problem with Armory is you have to run like at least 3 people. You can push in with 2 people, but without having that third person or fourth person there, you can't really watch doors, and it becomes a really dangerous situation because everybody's going there. TV station, like you said, is a good option, but I feel like the risk to reward is a lot higher on TV station. Armory, you once you get in the armory, if you're relatively good, you set yourself up a position with your team. You can hold doors fairly easily, hit all the loot, and get out with that underwater or that boat extract at the bottom of armory. With TV station, there's people everywhere. There's rats. Like I said, the loot's really good. The map's relatively small, but it's just more dangerous. And that's how I feel for like group running. I feel like for both TV station and armory, unless you're gonna be a rat, you're gonna want to run with a group. But if you're running solo, I've had a lot of good experience running lockdown solos on Valley. One, because Valley's only has lockdown, doesn't have forbidden, so it's the only place to hit the keys. Like it's the level of difficulty to hit the keys since you don't have forbidden. And it seems like not a lot of people hit all of the keys in Lockdown Valley, and it's not as highly as a traversed map as like Northridge or Armory. So I've had a lot of luck of like even wiping teams solo and grabbing a bunch of keys. The only problem is the map's kind of big, so it gets a little tedious running back and forth to those, and it's kind of a time sink in. But I feel like it's a safer option than
Espe-
like Northridge or Armory or TV Station if you're running solo.
yeah, especially now that T7 thermals are out of lockdown, that makes Valley a way more suitable map for solo play with getting the loot that you're describing for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, I run Valley primarily if I'm running solo. So it's very few and far between lately that I run in solo because I have a couple buddies who are pretty consistent, and then like sometimes I'll jump in with you like I did this morning and play a couple rounds. But when I am by myself, I am a very big Valley runner solo on lockdown. Not on normals. I feel like normals is not even worth going to Valley just because how long it takes you to get to places, but definitely on lockdown.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. Speaking in terms of what okay, so what kind of loot do you typically go for? Do you go for like a certain value amount? Do you even bother with blues? What's your mindset when it comes to looting?
Yeah, so I feel like you should pick up blues, or you should look at like the value of what they were, because the value of the color, like looking at the color, whether it's blue, purples, golds or reds, it's not as cut and dry as saying, oh, this is a gold, it's better than that purple. Because some of the purples right now are worth more than the golds, and some of the golds are take up a lot of space for not a lot of value. So if it's a gold, I'll pick it up if I have space. If it's a purple, I'll look at the loot value, like the nitrocellulose, like or the the cocaine as they call it, the hard rubbers. Those are both worth like those are 4 slots, and they're both worth like 80K right now. And you pick up like a titanium sheet or that metal sheet that's a gold, it's a 2x3 and it's worth 60 or 70. So it's a better value to pick up that 2x2 purple over those golds. I try to stick and grab smaller items with higher value. But I'll pick up pretty much anything. Usually not the blues at this point in playing. I think you probably should if you're new and you're trying to gain money. I'm not the most responsible person when it comes to money to this game. But yeah, I'm a professional broke ABI player over here, buddy.
That's all right. You go in with that you go big or go home mentality. That's not a bad thing. What I was gonna add is when I'm looting, I try to go 5K a square. So if you got 5K each, say binoculars 10K, I still grab it. A lot of people are like, no, they don't bother, or they just go for safes, and if they don't get a gold or red, they just. But there's a lot of money. It adds up, especially if you have a big bag. Chapman usually is what I run, or like an amp, and then just fill it up. So even though if you're not finding golds or reds, you can definitely make some money on some blues or purples. Now, if you really want to get into it too, you could pick up like scav ammo. Tier 3 ammo still sells for decent, and especially it's everywhere. You can unpack mags. It's a 60 stack. Doesn't hurt to grab it. Drop if you have maybe like a single square heal, like the black med kit, just drop it. Pick up 60 rounds, and it's only like 2K you're dropping. So, and then you could also take the scav rig, put it in your bag, and now you even have more space to min maxing. It works great.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate you pulling out the ammo thing. So I was actually a few months ago I was watching a streamer, the Seal TV, and I noticed he was pulling out all like the M855 purple ammo out of the scavs in Armory, or the purple ammo in general in the scavs in Armory. And I asked him, why are you pulling out the purple ammo? Because that's like, it's like, to me at that point I was like, oh, I'm not gonna pull out purple ammo. That's just like a lot of waste of time. And he explained to me, he said, well, if you think about it, you can fit 60 rounds in one slot. And some of those rounds are worth 600, 800 even as purples. Like the M855s or the BPZ ammos. There's tier 3s are worth like 600 to 800 a round. So per slot, it's one of the best items you can put in your bag or your rig for money. And it actually changed up the way I play a lot. I actually make a conscious effort to check the rounds. Now, if it's under about 500 a round, like if it's like a $200 round, I won't really mess with it. But 500 up, I will unpack mags, because if you do the quick math, it's definitely worth it.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, sometimes you just got to look at your bag, just do quick math, and just kind of look around and see, okay, what can I drop? What can I get rid of to replace? And do that all the time. Um, and I think like BPZ for the 760 by 51 is a good pickup, or even like the 762 by 39 PS ammo is very good. And like Tuna said, the M855 is another good solid. Those are like the three main ones that I would pick up personally that are worth your time. I know a lot of the scavs in Northridge have fouls that you can unpack. And another cool thing about that though is if you don't kill someone and grab a gun, what you can do, grab that stock foul off that scav, unpack the ammo, and then it has rails on it. So if you pick up extra like red dots, grips, you could just take them from your bag, put them on the gun, load the gun up, and that way you're maximizing your space. And what I'll also do is if you have, say, a red dot on a spare gun and you have a scope in your bag, take the scope, put it on the gun, and that way it only takes up one square versus two squares.
Yeah, definitely a lot of good Tetris moves. Got a good like min maxing in your bag. I look at my stash and they say, look, one of my teammates died, and that happened. That actually happened this morning, and I was like, there is no way I can get this stuff in my bag without dropping all of my high loot value items. But you do a little configuration here and there, and you can a lot of times make a lot more space in your bag and in your rig than you think you can. Whether it be stacking bags on top of each other, stacking like armor rigs, because a lot of times you'll pick up an armor rig, like a T5 armor rig, somebody drops. I want to grab that, especially if it's like brand new, no durability lost on it. and then you're putting stuff in there, and a lot of times you'll end up gaining space doing stuff like that. So it's definitely something, it's like a work in progress, and it takes a little getting used to, but once you do it enough, you'll start knowing like this is what will work, this won't work. And usually when you're min-maxing, those 2x3 golds and purple has got to go, because there is very rarely a 2x3 gold or purple that is worth the amount of space it takes up if you are at the point of min-maxing.
Yes. Yep. Just like for example, the skateboard even, or like the coil, it sucks up so much space. Yes, the skateboard can. You could trade it for Deke for the tier 6 visor, but oh, like I said, calculate your loot. Just take the extra time to do the calculations, so that way you can be like, okay, I'm dropping all this stuff for this big. Yeah, it's a gold, shiny, it looks cool, it's nice to have, but most
Skateboard does look sick as fuck.
yeah, it does.
Like, to be
It's
honest.
very bright, and it's like, ooh, a skateboard, all right. But if you like look at all the ammo that you can unpack, and personally, when I kill somebody, I unpack all their mags and then put the ammo in my butt pocket. That way, if I die, at least I get an ammo refresh for whatever gun they're running. And
Yeah,
don't sleep on bags. I mean, the cowhide is 60K for 2 slots, so 5K a slot minimum is what I go for. That's pretty good.
yeah, a lot of those bags, even some of the 100K ones, are only 2 slots. It's if you can't, if you're at the point where it's not worth like like the X4 tag, it is a terrible bag for min maxing. It is just
Yes, it is.
not built for that, but it's still worth a lot, and it only takes up 2 slots if you were to fold it down. And hopefully, just in case you don't know, if you press F when you're dragging a bag or a rig and it can be folded, you can fold it up. People come from like Tarkov may not know that, because in Tarkov that doesn't exist. But this game, it actually makes sense to be able to fold up bags and put them in there. We were talking a little bit earlier about safes and keys. When you look at whether it's worth buying a key or not, from your perspective, you run a little bit more Forbidden than I do. I know you've been more on lockdown this season than last season. But speaking from like a normal lockdown to Forbidden aspect, what do you think is the makes the difference whether a key is worth getting or not? Like, what keys do you think are better to grab, especially initially, or what keys do you think are just not worth grabbing at all?
I go based on, well, like for example, Armory. There's like the first floor lounge, second floor lounge, and the blue key card. Those are the three that I buy. There's some, we'll call them the X Factor keys, I guess. It is like the sluice key. I don't think it's worth it. Because every time I've looted in sluice, I think it's like yeah, I believe that's a 3 out of 3 key, but it's just you never really get anything good. And even the weapon storage, like, yeah, you could pull some decent stuff, but how much the key cost versus how much you're getting in return is not worth it. And us touching on earlier with the state of lockdown and Forbidden right now with the loot, you are going to still get a return on your key, but it is nowhere near as generous as it was. Like, I feel like before I could hit a key and pull a red every game, and now it's not the case. But yeah, I would say um you just got to look at, honestly, the best thing I do, and I've done this personally with a lot of keys. I'll even watch like a YouTube video of someone hitting keys a couple times, or I'll watch some streamers, and I'm like kind of seeing what they're getting with their key uses and how the frequency, and then I'll go based off that. Um, what about you? I know you've used keys and normals. I don't, but I don't knock anyone, especially now that they've used it's a one key use versus Lockdown 2 and Forbidden 3.
Yeah, I'm kind of conditioned to use keys and normals. Um, it is very rare to pull a red, but when I do pull a red on normal keys, I usually pull a couple like within the night, and then I'll go like 3 or 4 nights. I'll do it, but I don't run normals a whole lot anymore. It's usually if I'm doing like, I don't know, burning out quick kits, or doing some solos or doing some warm ups. But my key journey started with farm keys. I did not touch keys. I was like, keys are a rich person's game. I am not big enough of a player to buy keys. I don't have that bandwidth. And now it's the opposite. I own every single key for every map except for all the keys for TV station, because TV station keys are super expensive, and I never run TV station. I like TV station's amount. I do not have a good time usually when I go there, especially lately. I mean, I think the last couple times I went to TV station was with you, and it did not go well for us from like a duo perspective in TV station. Um, but I did. I said I did start with farm. I started with like the villa main bedroom key. That one had a pretty good return rate. The off barn office key had a good return rate and grain trade. I highly recommend grabbing keys just for everything. If you can afford them or if you like a certain map, grab those keys and start using them, because I run with two of my other friends a lot, and they say I pull reds all the time, and they never pull reds. Especially one of them, he said he hadn't pulled a red in like 2 months, but I pull usually about an average of 1 to 2 to 3 reds every night when I play, and I only play for a couple hours. And that's because I hit the keys and they don't. It greatens your chances of getting good loot just because you're giving yourselves, a substantially more safes. Usually double, especially if you're running people without keys. Um, Coming from like the armory perspective, I agree with Tact 100%. I own every key for armory. I'd never buy sluice gate. It's the only key in armory I don't buy, because if you're running armory for keys, you need to go to armory. You need to go into armory and you need to hit those. I do have the weapon room key, but it is the key that gets used the least. So you do have a chance of looking in there and seeing if there are good guns in there that are worth getting. And you can pull reds from the containers in there, like a target module. I've done that once before. But usually I'll do a quick sweep of that room, looking through if there's like an M4 or an HK sitting on the wall. I'll open it up to go grab it just because it's worth the key at that point. But I don't think I've ever burnt out a weapon room key because I just don't use it. Northridge, I have all the keys. Even there's a quote unquote one-time use key on lockdown. You can use it twice, because if it has 3 uses and use 2 on lockdown, even if you have 1 use left, you can still use it on lockdown, because there is no normal Northridge, so you can use it again. That cashier's office key or cafeteria cashier key, I pull reds from that surprisingly often. So yeah, I buy every key for every map other than TV station, except for sluice key on armory. And if you want to buy weapon room, just kind of know that you may not get your return on investment on that one.
Yeah. No, that's good. And you know what you said? Was it cashier's key for Northridge? Is that what?
Yeah, the one that's in cable car, that's like a 3 usage.
Yeah, I need to buy that more. I ran out of it. I used it once or maybe twice and didn't have any luck. But I think since you said that you'd be pulling reds in there, I think I'm gonna have to cop that key again.
It's crazy. So you get 2 uses on lockdown if you're running Northridge and lockdown, and it is very rare on those 2 pulls that I get it, because I don't hit it every time I run, because I run with people who have the keys as well. So now my buddies have decided they want to start pulling reds too, so they get the keys. But every time I get to use it, by the time I burn out the key, which is 2 uses, I very rarely don't pull a red in those 2 pulls. It's surprisingly, it's surprising how often reds spawn in that room for me. And the reason I actually started picking up the key, because it used to be a key like sluice gate and armory that I didn't pick up, but I kept running with a buddy and he hit it every time, and it was like 3 times in a row we ran, he pulled a red from it, and I was like, okay, I gotta start running this key. I gotta start running this key.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give it a go. The big thing I wanted to touch on, super exciting, at least in my opinion, is the update that actually happened today. Um, yeah, I'm very curious in the comment section below what you guys think about the new airdrops. It looks like to me it kind of looks like a PUBG style. I know Tarkov has it. It always makes me think of Tarkov or PUBG, but they have that airdrop in it. It kind of it's got the smoke that comes out of it, and it. I was playing it today. Tune and I both actually played it on farm, and the amount of PvP that we experienced was like, I love it, because everyone's, you see the airdrop. I think usually happens, I'd say around 20 minutes left in the raid, or 25. And you see the plane coming in, and then it has flashes that message that says the airdrop's coming soon. So everyone's looking up at the sky like, okay, where's it gonna go? And then you either get golds, you have a chance of red golds every time. But the best part is all the teams that are fighting to get the loot. Tina, what do you think about it? I know there's some other things we'll touch on with this update as well.
Yeah, so fortunately, I was put in a position because usually I would not have been able to test it, but I did manage to get on earlier today and do a couple runs with TAC. We were running farm, and we did manage to manage to hit it a couple times too, which is really cool. Um, I think it's a cool thing. I think right now it's only on farm, lockdown, and forbidden, if I'm not mistaken, and that's cool, but I feel like they should put it on every map and make it not a thing that not a thing that happens every time. So right now I imagine they're testing it or they're seeing how like the community likes it because we've never had this in ABI before. But I feel like it should be the airdrop should be a thing that can randomly happen on any map other than TV station. It'd be kind of hard to to airdrop on the TV station. But it should just randomly happen. So like, maybe you won't see it for 5 games in a row and then you'll see it. And then it's just a cool thing that will kind of force interaction with players. Like say Northridge. Northridge is a pretty big map. Valley is a very big map. Northridge, you do have a lot more interaction because of like condensed safes within areas. But in Valley, you can go a decent amount of time in Valley without ever running into a player. But if that airdrop happens there, you have a good chance of running into players or getting like into a position to take out players who are going to get it. And I think it adds a really cool dynamic into the game. You mentioned PUBG. It was a very, very cool thing in PUBG. Everybody be rushing to grab the airdrop. Tarkov, it's a thing that they do. They do it kind of like the way I think it would work really well in ABI, where if you're on a map, it can happen. And I remember the first time I ever had it in Tarkov, I was like, what the hell is that sound? What's going on? I can't hear anything. And it was just a cool experience to experience. So I think they should do that. I think they should also, speaking of update, I know this is a prior update. They did that storm for farm, like the rain, where you couldn't wear face masks because the rain, jacked up your face. I think they should start implementing that randomly on farm too. I think that would be really cool, and all the other maps. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, I do like this. I do like this this event there.
oh yeah, I agree. I like it too. Yeah, the storm was definitely cool. Even though would never recommend wearing a visor because you literally can't see anything unless you bring a visor and pop it up and then only wear a visor inside. But yeah, no, it was cool. Another cool thing about this update that I seen too is if you complete missions, you get coins, and what you can do with those coins is you can buy individual skins. I know there's a couple different skins right now on the storefront. They have the 5.7 skin, they have the P90, the Pharaoh SJ skin, the Pharaoh AK skin.
Which is a
Some
dope skin. I love that Barrow A-Kid skin. I actually bought it recently.
No, yeah, they're pretty cool. They're actually good skins, and I know some of them are the price is different. The 5.7 one, I think I got my eyes on. It's like 1,500 coins. So I think that's. I'm glad that they're giving people the option to get skins without having to pay a lot of money.
I agree, and that, and we talked about episode ago, maybe 2 episodes ago, about how they're starting to put more skins that you can grab for your guns or even for your player that you don't have to spend real money on. There's that new what's like general skin. There's 2 player skins that are in that coin shop right now. A bunch of different gun skins. You get a lot of the gun skins, whether in like these events that are going on. I think it's a really cool thing to start adding those skins that because it's a free to play game, and some people, you know, either don't want to spend the money or can't spend the money on $90 on skins because that's really what it costs, almost like 88 USD if you go and you roll every single time on one of those like skin bundles or whatever, like the sword or whatever. So it's really cool that they're adding stuff in that even players who don't want to spend money in the game can still get cool things.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. Give everyone a fair chance to get things. Also with this update that I saw, which I've noticed right away, I read everything and then I kind of like forgot about it and then hopped in. The faster looting times and especially for low value items. Like when I was looting some of the drawers, I noticed like, dang, these things are populating pretty quick. Like it's not like a huge amount, but it's definitely noticeable to where you can get in and out looting faster, which is so nice when you're trying to, because the less time you have to spend in a drawer, and more time that you can pay attention to your surroundings and get information on players, whether they're, because when you're pulling the drawers, when you open a drawer, it makes that sound when it's opening, and anything outside of that, it's harder to hear because of that interruption into your hearing.
Yeah, I always thought it was kind of weird. Tarkov has super long search times. ABI search times were already better, I think, than Tarkov's. But to me, it's like if I open a bag in real life, and I know the game is not 100% realistic, I'm gonna see some things immediately. I feel like the search time be like, oh, let me fumble around in there for 2 seconds to see if I can see the first item that I can see. And I know it's not that long, but it feels like that, especially like if you're in a situation where you killed a player or you're trying to loot your buddy's stuff and you don't know if there's other players around. It feels like forever. So I think the lowering the search time is a good change. And playing today definitely noticed it, definitely felt like it was a good change. Some of the other changes that made this update were some weapon changes. Some were surprising, and some were surprising that they weren't here. There were no changes to certain weapons that we have talked about in the past that I feel like there should be changes for. If they don't change it in Season 4, or if they don't change it before Season 4, I don't know. It's like they want people to only use this one gun. But, we'll take turns to talk about the weapons. The MK14, I feel like it was a super hyped gun in the season, was it Season 2? Yeah, in the Season 2 beta. Everyone said this was going to be the new meta gun. Shooting them M80s, M61s, M62s out of it, fully automatic. It was supposed to be better than the FAL, better than the G3, which both shoot the same ammo types. And then it really fell off. I feel like it's very rare to see someone using it. I had a buddy of mine who used it pretty consistently when it first came out, and then now he just doesn't even touch it. But they did make some good changes to it to make the gun more viable. They reduced the horizontal recoil during like a sustained ADS fire, and they reduced the intensity of random weapon shake when firing. I'm just reading that straight off the patch notes here. Those are things that were problems with the MK14. It may have been for the better because it hits like a Mack truck if you can get a hit on it, but it became really non-viable because it just, if you're ADSing, you're taking a shot, you can only take pop shots. That fully automatic was really not very useful unless somebody was in your face.
Yeah, the MK14 was a letdown because it was so hyped. I really wanted to. I tried to use it a lot, but yeah, the recoil is pretty rough on it if you're in full auto. At
It
a
looks
certain
sick
range.
as fuck too, dude. It
Oh,
looks really cool.
it does look really cool. And also kind of wish they were able to fit like a full scope on it, but that's just like, just nitpicking. Another gun that's interesting to me as the ZC807 is on here, and they reduced the range from 57 to 49, and I don't know how I feel about that because I think that the ZC already struggles at range, so they even reduce the range even more. So I know a lot of people use it for like rushing armory or TV. But it just kind of, it's just I feel like it's gonna be phased out a little bit with that. I know the AEK, they nerfed that as well, which was kind of upsetting because it was a meta gun, and I think this ZC has been a meta gun this season.
So speaking, I've been trying to put the ZC on my wall lately, so I've been using it a lot more. The effective range, it says 57, but it really didn't feel that way at range already. It was, I legitimately have a clip where I popped somebody about 6 times, most of those times in the head from about 70 meters away. I know it's past the effective range, but I feel like shield should probably get them down with that. At range, it just did not do well, and it feels like it has a decent amount of recoil already. So I feel like reducing the effective range on the ZC807 was a misplay on their part because it wasn't a gun that anyone was complaining about. I think if anything, people were like, hey, we thought this would be better. That's ZC was like one of the other guns like for this season that in the beta test that they were like, oh, this is going to be the new meta gun, and it wasn't. Like, you know, you see people running it, it's a decent option, but it definitely wasn't like, you know,
Yeah,
it's not like it's not like an HK. Nobody's like nerf the ZC. Nobody ever talks about it. It was fine, I think.
yeah, yeah. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Like no one, yeah, like you said, no one was complaining about it, and if it was like some secret list that I wasn't on. But I think that a lot of people, since the AK got nerfed, they switched to the ZC, and now I don't really know where it's gonna sit. I mean, people might still use it. And going to the AN94 for less recoil and faster RPM, that really, out of everything on the list, it actually makes me the most curious, because I have used the AN94. I don't like it, particularly for me, because of the height over bore. But I
Takes
think,
up 90% of your screen.
yeah,
Dog.
if you're running a scope like the 1 to 4 times on that, it's still rough. Like, yeah, like you said, 90% of your screen you can't see, and if you run a red dot, I like running scopes on my guns. I don't know about you, but I'm not a red dot user a lot of time because I feel like I'm missing information.
Yeah, I agree. I started using the reflex sight just on top of the scope, and like, you know, it's just really small, so it's like fast ADS. But then I started recently. Well, I say recently. For a while now, I've been using like 3.5 or the 4x scopes that have the reflex sight on top, so that way I can still use the reflex in like tighter corners, and just have fast ADS. But I still do have range because there's not really a map that I don't want to have range on. You know, TV Station and Armory, they're a lot closer maps, but there are still some times where you're a decent way away, and having that red dot can be the difference, or having that those optics are the difference between you winning and losing a fight, because that other person probably has optics and you can't see them, but they can see you. The A94, the vertical recoil in the first shot was so weird to me because it fires 2 rounds in the first shot, and I have never had issues with any kind of vertical recoil in the first shot. It feels like it's been pretty solid. The only issue with the A94 that I've seen is what Tag says, just the height over bore. They also increased the fire rate I'm seeing here from 600 to 630. So it seems like they made this gun better. And, you know, like I said, I didn't complain about the gun other than the height over bore, but I feel like these changes could make this gun more used in the future.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot of these, like, the MK14, um the N94 I'd put in there, or like, not meta weapons, but like I want to see more guns being used other than the HK. Like that's one of my goals. And I
HK is so boring, man. It's such a boring concept. You have to run full T6. You have to run an HK. You're starting now to see the HK in lockdown a lot more, and it's just like, dude, it's so boring to me. Let's
it
have some variety.
it is, and that's why a lot of people. I will say this: when before thermals were taken out, that you couldn't buy them, I barely ran thermals. Maybe, and still to this day, I've only ran thermals, like full T7 thermals, like maybe twice, because the thermals are in the same class as the HK. It's just boring to me. There's no skill that goes into using something thermal imaging to where you can see everything and just hose somebody with 100 round mag. Like, I don't know. It's more fun for me using a more budget option gun, because it makes it harder to kill, and I like that it's more challenging, like maybe
Yeah,
like an AK without a stock with BP ammo, something crazy or something, like that.
it's like when I say it's boring, all the guns typically have their quirks. Like the ZC has pretty, has some recoil issues, especially at distance. The TO3, which is one of my favorite budget guns, has some issues that you have to take in consideration when you're firing. You're not going to shoot someone at a long distance, or down your optics and unload on them, because the recoil can be a little annoying, like that initial recoil in the TO3. The HK, fully kitted out 700, 800K HK, it's just point and click, and it just seems like there's very little skill and a lot of RNG involved. Now, I'm not saying that if a pro player with an HK and full T6 went up against me with a HK and full T6 wouldn't dominate me every time, but I'm saying like at equal skill levels, it just really feels like those guns don't offer a lot of variety. Like you have to run the same gun. It's just like I said, I guess I can't keep saying it enough. It's just so boring to me.
I agree with you. I really do. It is. That's why, I try to run a lot of different guns, little different builds. Like today, I ran the MDR because I see on here it got a stability buff. And I never run the MDR because there's a lot of better options, but it doesn't mean I don't like it. And a little side tangent, I think they should add the 308 MDR. That would be amazing to this game.
I agree. I agree.
But I like to mess around. I read it 2 times. I never run 2 times on it, but I actually enjoyed it, and it's just fun running the customization of different guns using attachments you're not comfortable with is a it's a good time, and I 100% agree. HK is boring, bland, nothing to it. It's just the same over and over and over again.
Yeah, and with this game, once you complete all your season quests and you complete, do all the things you want to do for the season until the next season comes around, it can be a little dry. And if you're having to run the same gun every time, that just makes it more dry to me. But moving on from some of these other guns that we talked about, this gun has actually, I think, been consistently quote unquote in the meta. Definitely a viable gun to use on any map that can put players down that had a change on it. And they nerfed it a little bit. So oh no, they buffed it. I read that wrong. The M110, they increased the visual recoil recovery speed while firing. So this gun that you could just click, shoot, launch rounds down range, high caliber, powerful rounds like M61s, M62s, M80s. They made it to where you're more accurate doing so, and you have less recoil when you're firing. So that's an interesting change for the M110 because it was already a pretty good contender uh, when it comes to a gun that you can run that you can generally do well with on any map.
Yeah, the M110, you put M62s in and you just hold on a target. You don't really have to do too much with the recoil. I mean, you have to pull down a little bit, but you just keep tapping, and it's. I would say, between the M110 and the SVD are one of the best long range guns you're gonna find in the game because you could load it up with good T5, T6 ammo and just keep tapping.
I mean, you have the power of almost a bolt action rifle and a semi-automatic, marksman rifle, and it's just so hard to beat because it's got range, it's got power. So if you're running a fully automatic weapon and you're like 70 meters away from them, you're gonna struggle to take them down, and they're gonna take you down easily. So to give that a buff just seems like an odd choice to me. I think no one was saying the M110 was lacking, or at least in my experience, I did not think it was lacking. Uh, so it's very interesting they gave that a buff, and no HK debuff, no HK nerf in this weapon adjustments, which is very shocking to me. Those are all the weapons: the MK14, the M110, the AN94, the MDR, and the ZC807. Those are the only changes we have of weapons for this patch. No HK nerfs is crazy to me.
Yeah, I'm pretty bummed that, but I don't honestly. I don't expect. I think if the HA is probably going to get nerfed, it'll probably be the next season. Another thing that was on here that I thought was cool is that so with the pumpkins, because I like collecting things, and especially in ABI. So if you have the miraculous pumpkin, which is the max one for 250K, you could actually keep those once the event's over. Now, if you have the other ones like the carved, the ripe, or the unripe, they will be taken out from your inventory. But if you have the miraculous pumpkin, that's a tongue twister, then it'll stay and you can keep it as a collector item, which was I'm all about it.
Yeah, I think it's cool. You can keep it in your stash. Unfortunately, those can't go into your display shelf. You do have the pumpkin setup that you can get if you complete the event tasks that you can put on your display shelf. I don't know if I'll get it, which is kind of crazy to me because I feel like most of those within the time limits have been pretty easy to get. This one's been a little rough for me. I've not had a lot of good runs. I've been having a hard time getting those pumpkins out of the game. May not get that one. Some other things we're gonna quickly go over is they increased premium spawn rates, so premium items that you wouldn't see a lot. They increase the spawn rates of that. So we're not exactly sure what that spawn rate was or was changed to, but they said that they increased the rate of those spawns, so we should see more higher value golds or higher value purples or reds start to spawn you know periodically as you're playing. So that may be a good change because as we said last time, the way the economy is, one red equals like one full kit, including ammo, meds, what have you, on a lockdown or even a normal at this point.
One thing I wanted to add
And
real quick,
go ahead.
Arena, if you're ever listening to this, please make it to where we could put whatever item in the game in your trophy case. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, let me put my I don't know, some garbage piece of something up there because some things are cool to me. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Is there anything specifically that's not one of those items that you want to put there? That's not okay. I say that's not a gold or a red because I feel like from this season, last season to this season, they did add more golds and reds that you could put up there. Not all of them yet. Like there's no Euphoria up there. Some of the golds that I like aren't up there yet. But is there anything that's like not a gold or a red that you want to see that you could put up on your display shelf?
Honestly, that we already touched on, were like the pumpkins are on there. I mean, you put the pager on there or the
Yeah, who gives
lantern.
a shit about the
Like,
pager,
who gives a
dude?
shit about that? Like, I want a pumpkin. Like, so they made it to where you can put the pumpkin in your hideout, or you could make the little pumpkin stack. That's cool. But like in the trophy room, it would be cool to put the pumpkin on there. It's a limited edition item. And shoot, if we even wanted to put some put a knife on the trophy room. I know we have the weapon wall. I understand. It'd be kind of cool, like to have the sword in its own spot up there. Like it'd be your what you thought was limited edition items that you wanted to put on your display.
Yeah, I think anything that allows us to have more customization options for what we want to do is a good thing. All right. Now, this is my favorite part about last episode. Hopefully, your favorite part as well. I did have some very positive feedback from people who jumped on my stream that watched the podcast. Tactical Corner, where we break down the next map in our series of our map breakdowns. Last episode, if you want to see that, if you want to see Farm, go back to episode 2 and watch the Farm breakdown. This time, we're gonna do Valley. So let's go to that.
All right. Let me make sure I'm getting over
All
here
right,
to the right
Tact,
screen here.
take it away, buddy.
All right. I always like to start on the west side of the map. So we're going to go over here to the radar station. As you can see, there's a couple spawn points right here. So we're going to start with this, the most southern. Well, there's a spawn point over by port, but we're gonna focus more towards closer to radar. If you spawn on towards the south side of the radar station, or even the middle, I always rotate towards port because what's going to happen is the three spawns, they're gonna come to a point. So if you spawn here, you go and you move in, there's gonna be a choke point on the map right there. And most of the time, I mean, I'm fairly decent at the game, but I don't think there's no way try to take on multiple teams at the same time because what happens is, and I try to explain this a lot of times, is if you get in one good fight, your armor's probably going to be shredded. And then if you have to go into another fight after that, the survivability, that team that maybe wasn't fighting with your first fight, they're going to be all fresh, ready to go. And then you're going to be over here struggling to hold your own because you're low on ammo, you're hurt, stuff like that. So yeah, anytime I could do this, the middle spawn right here in between radar and frontier, honestly, is probably one of the better ones because you have all this tree, you have this whole tree line right there to take cover. But and then I guess frontier too. If you spawn frontier, you can go up on the hill and kind of look over. But the spawn most south of or one of the most south of radar station, you're kind of out in the open, and if you don't move, the team that spawns in the forest north of radar, you're probably gonna get a full auto sprayed if you don't get a move on. Let me go ahead, do this real quick. So, and then to touch very briefly, usually the team that spawns over here by the beach to the west of port, they're probably just going to push into port. I don't see much teams pushing into this forest right here just because there's a lot of open and you don't want to be caught out in the open. So, they usually push port here, and then there is a safe. There's a locked door safe right there that you could hit with a key that a lot of people do. I've had some good hits on that. It's, just like any save, it's 50-50. Let me delete this. And then also what I wanted to mention is that beachhead right here is such a popular traveled area. A lot of people go up there to get vantage points, especially those guys that I said that go port. The one good thing is you get the save, but the one disadvantage is anyone that's up on beachhead has an advantage because they can just look over down into port, and you're kind of, it's really hard to fight uphill. One thing I could recommend to do is when you're in port, if you're trying to get out, I would loot port, and then I would come over here in this corner. There is a jump up right here with the end of that blue line. You could jump up and over, and then you have some trees right here that'll give you kind of some cover points, and then you can move west into the tree line, and then kind of get better eyes on the beachhead guys because it's extremely hard to fight your way straight out towards beachhead because you're already at a disadvantage. Let me delete that real quick. And then
Yeah, pushing out a port, it can be very difficult because, like Tag said, those up in beachhead positions have full sight to the entrance, both entrances of port on the north side, and you either going to have to push up through beachhead positions where somebody's most likely at, or you're going to have to push to the right across the beach, which is completely open. Everybody from beachhead to the northwest part of Beach Villa, if they're still up on that hill looking down, everybody can see you. It's a terrible place to get caught. So, try not to run across that open beach.
and then what I was gonna say, so going up, we're gonna go further north up by supply camp. There's a spawn to the left of supply camp out here, and there is a little camp there. So you have two spawns right here and here. Usually those spawns, either this spawn, I would probably push small factory, but what you could do, which a lot of people will do too, is just, I mean, Beach Villa is the main spot to be. It's got some good saves. It's got the master bedroom. It's got two, so it's got the two free safes, plus, and then it's got two additional keys: the master bedroom key and the lower key down below. So it's got four safes in total in that spot. So a lot of times, what someone will do when they spawn to the left of supply camp, and what I would probably do, I'll jump over the guardrail, hope, and then that way, see all these teams like Beachhead, Radar, and by Frontier, they're probably going to fight, or at least that's what statistically, that's typically what they do. And then that gives me an option to go into this forest right here, which is all covered, which is nice, and then go right into Beach Villa. Now you will have a team, the Pinot radio station spawn over here by beach. If they decide to go there, yeah, you're going to be content. They're probably going to beat you there every single time. That's why I always recommend, if you're running a bigger map, bring a stim, bring the best stim. It's expensive. It's like 40K. You can get them on sale from Deke, but bring a red stim, endurance stim, and then bring at least a couple energy drinks to help you get there along the way. And then small factory, it is a good loot spot and it's a good PvP zone. I mean, as you can see here to the left, you got, like I said, you got these 2 spawns right here. So if they push small factory, and then you have 3 spawn points that are pretty close. They're not all gonna push small factory, but there's just a chance they're gonna push in, and then it's gonna be a huge PvP zone. A lot of players will go downstairs because there's that free safe downstairs. Plus, there is 2 locked rooms downstairs as well that you could hit that have some good loot. So 3 in total downstairs, and everyone usually rushes downstairs, but also they can get stuck down there. There's 2 ways you can go down stairs in small factory as well. And one thing to cover here though is this right here. So that little that dartboard right there, the bullseye, that is where a sniper scab will be. And you could play it one of 2 ways. You can kill the sniper scab because it can give away your position. However, what I like to do is go around the backside. So hold on, let me. I know there's a bunch of circles here. So what you could do is you can go in this forest. Cover is your friend on big maps, or no matter what map you're in. Try to be in cover. If you're out in the open, you're less likely to survive. So go through the forest, and then I'll go around back. Leave the sniper scab up. That way, if you go in through the back of small factory, I know I brought it up last time when I was talking on farm. Scavs, they can hurt you, but they're also like a sentry. So if he starts shooting off, oh hey, especially if you're running solo, that's my strong indication someone is approaching. So I should probably move up from the bottom and keep a lookout because someone's coming. And a lot of times, what people will do, they'll probably shoot him because they become annoyed with him. They'll give away, you can hear where the shot rings in from, and then that way, okay, cool. Not only do I know someone's here, I have that information, I now know what direction they are, and then you can set up for the proper positioning to kind of get a jump on them. Let me do this. Okay, and then another thing I want to add here, I'm going to move down a little bit. Well, so just touching on supply camp again. I know I didn't really. There's some loot boxes there. It's not a super high profitable loot area. The one thing though that supply camp will add is the elevation you get. So there's a sniper scav here that you can leave alive. But when you're coming up here, it's definitely a higher point of the map. You can kind of see towards small factory, courtyard, and then you could kind of see in the forest. This direction right here is not the best to hold because you're kind of exposed. There's 2 different sides right here, right here. So not the best, but definitely small factory. You can get some information that way, and then the sniper scav will aggro you. But information's huge. I will always say that. Get as much information as possible while you're playing, especially if you're solo. And a lot of players going south of supply camp right here. This section right here is a hot spot where people will run in, they'll take some shots, and then they'll go back in the forest. It is huge for this area. They will rat you in this forest. I've had it happen a couple different times, and it can become frustrating. That's why personally, anytime I get shot, I will rotate, flank, get information, maybe take some shots, and then just keep rotating. Because if you sit in the same spot shooting people, you're gonna have a way less likely chance to live, due to, oh, they know where you are, so they're gonna flank you first. So you definitely want to beat them to it every single time. Okay, we are gonna touch on the Valley Village. And Tuna, if you have anything to add, you can interrupt me at any time. Don't feel like you're.
Yeah, so I agree with everything Tech says. Tech is a very tactical guy. At the end, though, I'm going to do kind of like what I do, what I did at the end of the farm. Is like, this is my routes, and my routes come from my perspective of playing solo on lockdown. And I think it might be beneficial because if you're doing loot runs, that is my loot run as a solo player, is Valley on lockdown. So everything Tech says, I agree with 100%. I'll let you finish, and then I'll do like a quick rundown of what I would do if I'm doing a loot run on lockdown.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. And I like that we do the double perspective. That way, not everyone's gonna play my way, not everyone's gonna play either way. So it definitely gives you good perspective on both.
In my ways, loot goblin, minimal risk as you can with the maximum outcome of money. I do die a lot though. I don't play as tactical donuts does, but I enjoy it and I feel like it really works for me specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. At the
The
end,
layman.
hey, at least it's all about having fun, right? Um, so what I want to touch on is the Valley Village. I don't know why I circled it. Don't mind that. I'm just on a circle spree here. Okay, so I would just say, let's see. It is I'm trying to find where I want to mark here. So I'd say like right here on that little dot, there is a free safe in lockdown and lockdown only. You won't find it normal. There's a free safe. So a lot of times what people will do is they'll try to like sneak on the safe, but it's a loud safe. So as soon as you hit it, it's going to make noise till it opens. It's going to give you the 15-second countdown. There's been a couple renditions of Valley, and with the update they have added, it's probably like right here. There is kind of like a catwalk that kind of extends out that people will lay on, and if you're not careful you will end up getting sniped from up high pretty quick. So I just wanted to throw that in there. You also have to worry about this forest right here, because people and here too, people will try to actually basically these three groupings.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just circle.
It's such a terrible positioning to hit that map because, like you said, you got people from Gnome Courtyard coming down, anybody from Small Factory Supply Camp coming down the map, beachhead positions. If someone's peeking out of Beach Villa, because you can hear it from Beach Villa, anywhere in that area, pretty much you're surrounded. It's a very sketchy. It's the very sketchy safe to hit, but it is not the sketchiest yet. He's not one of the sketchiest safe in my opinion on the map yet.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Let me go over there. Okay, so I'm okay. So touching on Courtyard real quick is so there's three spots. Well, yeah, there's kind of three spots. So you got the main walk up, and then you can go around back here to RV. You can go this way, and then you could also come up from this forge line up here, and that kind of puts you right there. So there's three hotspots there. Courtyard could be a very challenging area to fight, because if you go in this forest right here, people will sit up here where the sniper is right there, and then they'll look down, and you'll pretty much get killed every time because of height advantage. Courtyard is the loot. It's hit or miss. There is and not normals, but there is a free safe and lockdown downstairs in the basement, and there's also the locked room in Courtyard as well. And you could find some decent things. There's plenty of jackets in Courtyard that I want to mention that are worth looking into. Now, let me get rid of all my blue squigglies. And then I'm gonna go touch over on this side of the map, and then I'm gonna hand it over to Tuna. So there is a couple spawns over here in Barn. I know there's this spawn right here north of Barn that you can kind of get into. Now, there is a safe out here. I'd say right around there. There's a free safe. It's not always great to loot because you can get hit from this spawn, or vice versa. Whatever spawn you spawn in over here, if you go to that safe, it's definitely challenging to get because of the location. You're out in the middle of a field, and yeah, you pretty much get rocked. Now, a lot of times, if you hit it early enough, you're quick, just get in, get out, then you're good. But not always the best way if you're running a solo team. Not too bad.
and that safe, I want to reiterate how dangerous it is. It is completely open. There's a small building that has holes everywhere. You can't, even if you're laying down or you're crouched, one direction will still have a line of sight on you, depending on where that spawn is. No matter how you stay in that building, you are not safe. And if you're leaving the building, you have to cross open ground for a considerable amount of time, no matter which way you go. So you are very exposed going to that safe. Very exposed.
Yes, you are. That is the worst safe to hit on Valley. I would say that one. I would say that one's probably the worst, and the second worst is Valley Village.
Yeah, at least Valley Village, you can duck in the building if you need to. Like, they'll have to push you. It's still not a great position to be in, but that East Farm, you are always visible to somebody.
Yes, and this side of the map, I would say, is somewhat less challenging to get through because of the spawn locations. Um, the third party's not as much versus the west side of the map versus the east now. Um, for one other thing I wanted to add, like I said, if you spawn here, I would just go villa every time, grab the keys, pop an endurance, even though you're that close, and run across the beach. Now, with running across the beach right here to villa, one thing you got to worry about is this spawn right there, because if they don't go towards, a lot of times they'll go RV, but if they don't, what they're gonna do a lot of the times is go over to this forest right there, right here, and they will shoot across the water, and then you'll just get torn apart. I've seen it happen so many times. I've done it to players so many times. It's a very bad choke point. What you can do to avoid this, especially if you're loot running, say you're a new player, you grab some keys or you just want to hit some free safes. What you can do is you can run up to this part of the beach even. Don't wrap all the way around, but kind of run around it and then hit this forest right here. Trees cover, and then there's a little like pad right there. You can get up and in by garage and get up into the beach villa. Um, that's pretty much all I have for Valley. I'm gonna hand it over to Tuna to kind of touch on his play style, and yeah, go ahead, Tuna, take it away.
All right. First off, I'm going to mark every locked room because I own every single key to Valley, and I feel like if you're doing these loot runs, you should own every key to Valley. There are 2 locked rooms, and I'm going to annotate them with this orange marker. 2 locked rooms in the basement of Small Factory. There's a locked room in the basement of Knoll Courtyard. There's a locked room in a building the south or the north of RV Camp. There's 2 locked room in Beach Villa, and there's 1 locked room in Port. I do not think I missed any. I think that is all the locked rooms on Valley. So, if I spawn on the north side of the map, whether that be frontier position, supply camp, small factory, or on the other side north of East Farm, I am going to small factory first. If I'm coming from the left-hand side, coming from here up to small factory, I am going to do exactly what Tax said, except for not kill the scav, but I don't go through the back if I'm going this way. This way I go through the front. I go through the front, I hit that door to go straight down, and I loot. You may end up fighting someone down there, because these people to the right-hand side of the map, to the east side of the map, they are going to be closer to you, especially if they're this spawn right here. But it's a risk you have to take. If I'm on the right-hand side, you are always generally going to be the first person over to small factory. Maybe this person will be here, but it's very unlikely. Usually if I'm heading from the east side of the map into small factory, I can hear this guy, this sniper scav, shooting at somebody. Now, because he'll shoot at somebody if he'll shoot at this guy right here. So even before he ever gets to small factory. So it's nice to have that scav there, especially doing a solo run, because if you know a player somewhere, there's probably more than one. And as a solo player, you are usually disadvantaged because most players run as a team, whether it's a duo, trio, quad, whatever. You are generally going to be at a disadvantage in any play that you or any fights that you get into. Now, one thing I have noticed a lot lately, coming from the east side, coming from this way, is if you're at one of these further ones back, whether you're here or some of these spawns are a little off, sometimes you spawn kind of back here and you're pushing up here. In this area right here, this big circle right here, either this guy or this guy, they will have somehow gotten over here, and you will end up fighting in this area a lot. In the last couple weeks, I've ran quite a few solo Valley runs, and that is the area where I feel like most of the action has happened. I will usually either wipe the lobby or die there. And that's happened multiple times over the last couple weeks of me playing. So if I'm on the north side of the map, I'm heading to Small Factory. From Small Factory, I'm going back out the right-hand side of Small Factory. I'm never going back out here, because people coming from Supply Camp, Valley Village, whatever, you're going to have a lot more chance, in my opinion, of running into a player here. So I'm going to go out the right-hand side of Small Factory, up to RV Camp, clear that, hit that locked room there, and then I'm going to go into Knoll Courtyard, hit the safe and the locked room. From there, I'm going to make my way down to Valley Village, hit the safe there. That's the sketchiest point within this loot run for starting on the north side of the map, because it is a bad safe to hit. And I say that because of what Tack showed earlier. Every direction is a possible enemy coming, and it's a very loud safe. It's very open. There's a lot of people who have high ground on you that can kill you. Fortunately, we kind of take care of known courtyard because we go through that. So if you clear that and you make it through that, generally that area of that super high ground, that catwalk that Tack was talking about, you're not going to have to worry about them shooting at you, but you still have to worry about Beach Villa, and you still have to worry about people coming from port or beachhead positions, etc. From there, I'll go into Beach Villa. I'll hit both safes if they're still there, and the keys. The good thing about it being lockdown, even though it is the highest level of difficulty you can play for Valley, a lot of time people still don't hit the keys. So it's nice because even if someone had made it to Small Factory before you, made it to Known Courtyard before you, made it to Beach Villa, the free safes may be gone, but there's still a decent chance that you're going to get a safe. Now, I made it sound like it was pretty quick. Usually when you're looting Small Factory, going to Known Courtyard, going to Valley Village, going to Beach Villa, you're kind of playing it a little slower because you are a solo, and any fight is dangerous to you because most of the time they will have more people than you. And then you'll have to fight multiple teams, and you're just one person. So by the time you get to Beach Villa, you're usually pretty low on time. So if you have the port extract, which is down here, let me back all that up. If you have the port extract, which is down here, Small Factory, Known Courtyard, Valley Village, Small Factory, RV Camp, Known Courtyard, Valley Village, Beach Villa, then you go to port, hit that locked room, you get out here at this port extract. If I start on the south side of the map, which is my least favorite, most of the time I feel like you're somewhere up on this north portion of the map. If you start on the south portion, I'm doing what Tack said. I'm running a port first. I'm running a port, I'm hitting that door, I'm getting out. I'm going to push, I personally push up into beachhead positions. It's not a good fight. You have to be very careful when you do it. I actually may take that advice from Tact and take that extra out over here in the left-hand side, go back up to beachhead position. I generally don't do as well starting on the south side of the map here, but go from port, then to Beach Villa, then to Valley Village, Known Courtyard, RV Camp, Small Factory, and then get out where I can get out. A lot of times it's going to be here, right where that spawn is almost. There's an extract over there near Pinot radio station. I never, ever hit this East Farm safe if I'm playing solo. I never do it because every time I go to hit the safe, now sometimes it'll be very dead over there, but every time I go hit the safe, it's like I'm fighting three different teams. There's people from the north up here somehow. There's people coming down from over here, and sometimes the people from the Crash Canyon push up to here. And it's just, I'm getting shot at by so many people. So on a solo run, unless it's like very late in the game, I will never hit the East Farm safe. It's just, it's not worth the risk in my opinion. Speaking of this spawn over here by Pinot radio station, I hate this spawn. As a solo player, it is detrimental because you're not in a good place to go to any safe room. There is no safe way to travel to get to a safe or a locked room quickly. I know Tack said go up north. I don't do that. I don't do that as a solo player because I feel like 7 out of 10% of the time, this player right here or this team right here is going to go up through here. And by the time I get to like right here on the beach or up in here, they have the high ground on me and they blast me. Like a lot of times I don't see them. I hear them, but I don't know where they are up here. So I'm as a solo player down here, like down here, and they're up here. I hear a bunch of footsteps. I'm by myself. There's like 3 people above me shooting at me. I don't have a chance because they can come around, flank me this way. They can come around this way, and there'll still be somebody up top looking down at me. And I don't have a good chance. So what I do, and this is actually a recent thing I've done because I don't spawn at this map very often, at that spawn very often. But when I do, I'll go back around. It is time consuming, but a good thing is a lot of times I'll notice that this area right here that I just circled here in the middle of this road, there's a lot of fights happening here. So these people will be there. Sometimes, like, I'll if you're not spawning here, these people will go there. Sometimes this person goes up here, and I don't think these spawns are 100% accurate, but it seems like there's always a fight right on this road. There's like a little van right here. So there's usually a fight like up here, and sometimes they'll push down. there's usually a fight like right here, and sometimes there's people in this woods over here. So I'll circle back around here, go south, head up into Pino radio station. There's a little back entrance there. I'll take the high ground here, and I'll look down. I will look down from here down there and up this road and just there. So I will make sure that I'm safe. I spend a little extra time to make sure I'm safe before I push out anywhere. And then from here, I'm probably going to go up to Nome Courtyard RV camp, small factory, cut back down to Valley Village, then Beach Villa, then Port, if that is if there's the extract there. So that's what I do. Valley Villa or Beach Villa, on most of these runs I hit it last because that is the highest impact area in my opinion. Like, there's always going to be players there. There's always going to be people who are going to push there immediately because there's 4 safes there. There are 4 safes and they're right on top of each other. And if you can get there quick, you can hit all 4 safes. And a lot of the times, if the boss is there or you get into a fight there, which I feel like some people are expecting, there's an extract here that you can either give the boss token to or give 2 dog tags to, depending on when it changes, depending on what difficulty you're playing on, and then sometimes just randomly through the map. So if you can hit all 4 safes here, get a player kill or get the boss kill, because the boss spawns here pretty regularly, within 5 minutes into the game, you've hit 4 safes and got out of the Beach Villa. You got an extract. So that is my personal run through Valley. Tack, do you have any comments on that?
No, I like your run as well, and I'm glad you covered. One thing I did forget to cover is the Pino radio station on that road. Yeah, it's a shit show sometimes when you spawn by the beach, and if you don't want to run down the beach and you go around, you can still wind up getting pinched by multiple people if you're not careful.
Absolutely. And actually, one more thing I'll bring up talking about the beach. The timer can be red. You can have like 8-9 minutes left. The timer's red. And if I'm at Beach Villa, like I said, that's usually most of my runs. I start from the north side of the map and I make my way down to Beach Villa, then head to Port. Still be very wary of this beach right here, because you will think that you're the only person on the map, and then somebody's going to be sitting up in beachhead positions and snipe you as you're going across there. Because a lot of times you'll be in a rush because you are red. Sometimes I'll have like 2 or 3 minutes left, and I'm booking it from Beach Villa to Port to get that safe to get out the extract down here. Sometimes there's still a player in beachhead, so you have to be very careful taking that risk of running across the beach, because when you're on that beach, you're open, you're exposed. There's no cover for you, or no viable cover for you to be able to take a fight to someone who has that high ground and beachhead position. So just be very careful.
One last thing I just remembered that I wanted to add for this is, if you're doing a loot run, I know you did make a good point. You could, if you spawn here at beach, you can go all the way around and hit the forest. But another take you could do it. So there is an exfil. I'm gonna try to mark it. It's right here. It's 50-50. It's either you got it or you don't. But it's the abandoned shack. You used to have a key to take it. They took it away. Now it's a chance you can have it. But if you want to loot run a bunch of times, you could, if you're quick, and the timing is everything. Hit the beach quick, pop an endurance, hit all the safes in Beach Villa right here, and then what you could do is shoot across this forest, be careful, and then go right over and then exfil if you want to do a speed run.
Yeah, and these are things that we've just gained from our experience playing. I say Tact is a much more tactical player than I am. He's a lot better of a player than I am. So he plays a little bit more strategic. For me, it's what I've noticed through playing is like the safest route, or the route that I can win fights in or get the most loot with like the little amount of risk. Especially from a solo perspective. I don't think, like you said, Tac doesn't play a lot of solo. I primarily, when I first started playing this game, played a lot of solo, and then I end up taking periods of multiple days in a row where I play solo. So you just got to be very careful, and you have to pick your battles, like pick your spots in a way that it's you're going to be put in the least amount of risk. Because if you are in a spot where people are going to be fighting, you're going to want 2 teams to be there fighting each other and not you. Because as a solo player, unless you're, just built different, if you go up against a 3 stack, you're gonna have a hard time. You have to, I'm not saying be ratty, but pick your positioning carefully. I had a fight right up here, actually. It's on my TikTok and my YouTube. where I came from back here, pushed up here. I wiped a team of 3 right here, and then I wiped a guy back here, and that guy had 2 dog tags on him. So at that point, essentially, for maybe 1 or 2 players, maybe another team was on the map somewhere. But in that first 10 minutes of the game, the whole lobby was pretty much wiped right here. So just be careful, pick your positioning well. Don't try to be the aggressor if you're playing solo, and unless like I said, unless you're just built different, you can handle that. All right, that again, my favorite segment of our podcast was tactical corner. I don't remember if that's what I called it the last time. We're workshopping some names, so we're workshopping some name for it. And next time, so we've done farm, we've done valley. I think the correct path to go is to just keep going as maps as you unlock them as a new player. In case you are a new player and you are watching this and trying to learn the maps at the same time, I think the next one's going to be Northridge, right? We need to might need to put a block of time in for that, because it's a very big map and a lot of different play styles for that. So it might take up a considerable amount of the next episode. This one as well, I think, took up more time than farm. It's just these bigger maps, man. It's just, it takes time to to figure them out and to understand them and to discuss all the different points on there.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So one thing we can't neglect to mention as an extraction shooter podcast, although we are ABI focused currently, Arc Raiders is out, right? Tact, have you gotten to play any of Arc Raiders since it came out?
Yeah, I think I played the first day it came out. At I think I played like 10 or 11 hours of it. I actually enjoyed it a lot. I was surprised. I had, I was like, I don't know if I like it, Buddy was trying to get me to get it, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll get it. And then I really enjoyed it. Great game. I like the way they're doing it. I didn't know how I feel about third person, because I don't play a lot of third person, more of a first person shooter oriented player. But no, it's a good game. I like the guns. I like how they set everything up. The maps are cool, how you can unlock them as you go. Um the biggest thing though for me, on I guess towards a con for that, it's just a lack of customization. Like, yeah, you could put attachments on your gun and stuff like that, but it's not like ABI or Tarkov, where you could see your attachments, you can use them, like you got different things like that.
I agree. I think Arc Raiders is a very cool twist on the extraction shooter genre. A lot of the extraction shooters we see are like the same but different, like Delta Force, ABI, Tarkov. I feel like there's still there's a small core that they started from and they built onto those, and there still feels like there's a lot of similarities. Now, they do not play the same. I will never say they play the same. I don't like Delta Force. Well, it's okay. Tarkov has its niche for its super hardcore, and ABI is like right in that sweet spot for me, in between that like arcadey style that Delta Force has, in my opinion, and that super hardcore that Tarkov has. Arc Raiders is just a completely different game. It's still an extraction shooter. The basis is high risk, high reward. Go in with your team, grab stuff, and get out. The third person, to me, it was a little off-putting at first. I did not have a lot of fun when I first started playing the game, but when I played a little bit more, did a couple sessions, I started to feel like, okay, I'm starting to figure out what the point of the game is, and to stop treating it like it is a Tarkov or ABI. Treat it as a completely different game. It is an extraction shooter, but it's so off the path of what Tarkov and ABI are that if you're wanting that, I think you're going to be disappointed. And that's kind of how I felt going into it, is I wanted something that was like that, and it's not that. But it has a really cool aesthetic, a really cool kind of like a PvE situation, because you're not going against like bot players, right? You're not going, sorry, not bot players, but like bot humans, I guess I'll say. You're going against like robots. And then one person had, one of my buddies mentioned to me, he said, when a bot in Tarkov or ABI starts acting up, those are like humanoid people. So when they start acting funky, it definitely looks really out of place. But when a robot, like a robot on that's flying in the air or on walking on spider legs, if they do something erratic, you're like, you don't even think twice about it because it's a robot. Who cares? It's not out of character for them to do weird erratic things like it is to when you see a scav do something weird. You're just like, okay, they're supposed to resemble those humans, and they're like acting like not humans, so it's kind of takes the immersion out a little bit. I personally, this might get some hate for this, do not like the aesthetic of Arc Raiders. I'm not a big, post-apocalyptic steampunky kind of guy. But I do think the game is really fun, and I do think it'll I don't know sure if I'll say it'll stand the test of time yet, but I don't know. Most big Tarkov streamers, if you watch them play, they're still playing Arc Raiders. They have not went back to Tarkov, and Tarkov had its Steam release, and they still haven't gone back. So I think it is, which is surprising that it's like a completely different game. It is kind of, I wouldn't say a Tarkov killer, but definitely a deterrent. And a lot of those big names still playing Arc Raiders. Now we'll see in the coming months as like the newness dies off of it, if they can keep the content updated and fresh, of whether it'll maintain those players to keep playing. But I really think it's probably here to stay.
Yeah, those some good points. I agree with a lot of what you said, though. Definitely not a Tarkov killer, but yeah, deterrent for sure.
Yeah, so we had some other little extra topics to bring. We're kind of running short on our time for our podcast here, so we'll kind of hit these a little briefly. When you look for like looking at ammo types, and I mentioned this in the last podcast, I see a lot of people running T3. We just a very quick breakdown. I'll put some stuff up on the screen here so you can see like a little guide. T3 penetrate T3 armor, right? T4 penetrate T4 armor. T5 T5, T6 T6, right? So if you're running like a lockdown or even normals lately, everybody's like T4 above. Running T3 armor or T3 ammo, you can penetrate that T4. It's just going to take more. So keep that in mind as you're running purple ammo, because I know in Tarkov, a lot of the ammo types work a little differently. If you are running a lockdown with T3 ammo, you're going to want to run a gun that has a high output rate to be able to bust through that armor faster. It's pretty cut and dry that T4 is going to bust through T4. Usually, some guns and some ammos are the exception, and some have higher pin rates. But a good general rule of thumb is if you want to go up against T4 people, run T4 ammo. Now, like I said, you can still take down a T5, but if they're running T4 ammo and you have T4 armor, they have T5 armor, and you're running T4 ammo, a lot of times they're going to get you unless you get a drop on them. So just keep in mind when you decide, hey, you want to cheap out on ammo. Ammo is really one of the biggest decision makers in fights in ABI. If you're running T5 ammo, you're going to crush people in T4 gear. If you're running T3 ammo, maybe not. Now, you definitely can still win those fights. I've definitely been taken out by T3 ammo. I've definitely put people down with T3 ammo, but it's going to take more on your part. So if it's like an even fight, dude, that ammo makes a difference.
Yep, it's a make or break. And one thing, too, that I'll quickly touch on ammo is that the lower pen ammo you go, the higher flash damage that it does. That's why Dum Dums are so good. Dum Dums is the 9x19 caliber bullet. It will it has super high flash damage. That's why people use it as leg meta, but it has 0 penetration, and you'll find that across the board for every ammo.
Yeah, so it brings up a good point. I failed to mention anything about leg meta. So throw everything I said out the window for leg meta. You can run, if you're running a vector, you can run, tier 1 ammo and tear somebody's legs up. So it is kind of like you usually see a lot more of like Tag said, the Dum Dums in like an MP5. I feel like it's a very common thing you see in TV station. You might see vectors a little more. Or the USAS. That is, the USAS will tear up some people's legs, the automatic shotgun. So those are other things.
Is the T85 with the LRN white ammo, solid gun. I think it's like 20 to 30K to build, and it has like a 750 RPM fire rate. So if you lose it, who cares? Good gun. Good leg medic.
And I think I actually did run a couple runs with you where we were trying that out, like on farm and grain trade. I feel like I vividly remember taking someone's legs out. Now, the problem with leg meta for me is my brain is like shoot them in the head. So if you're running that terrible ammo, and you're not shooting them in the legs and the arms, it's gonna bounce right off those helmets. So you just be careful.
Yes.
All right. So right now, we're gonna get to the part of the end of the segment where we start asking you guys for interaction. So again, at this point, if you guys want to send us any of your videos of like your best moments, your favorite gun builds, if you have any questions for us, like what are our favorite gun builds, you want to send us your gun builds to test them, we will record them, we'll actually put them on the podcast, give some reviews. You want to send us any videos for things that you think might be cheaters, we'll do some reviews for that too. So any kind of interaction that you guys want to have, anything you want to see, anything you want to show us, definitely send it our way. We have a Discord. We have the comment section in the YouTube. Obviously, we have our own personal streams. You guys ever want to jump in there and just give us a shout out? So you jumped in the tag stream and say, hey, I watch you guys podcast. I want you guys to try this gun build out. I'm sure he'd be more than happy, or I definitely would be more than happy to give it a test. For streaming, we're already recording. We'll throw it up on the podcast on a later episode, whenever it's applicable, if we haven't already recorded or created a script for it, and then give it a good rundown and how we felt about it. Get you up on the quote unquote spotlight.
Hell yeah. And I love feedback. I love new builds, especially budget builds. Like, send it all to us and we'll check it out. I'm always open to new stuff.
Absolutely. And like I said, the next map breakdown is going to be Northridge. It's gonna probably take up a good chunk of the episode just because it's such a big map and there's a lot to do and a lot of different ways to play it. But it should be really good. It is a fun map to play. It is a huge time sink, and I think you guys could learn a lot from Tack's perspective on Northridge. My perspective, you're not going to learn a whole lot unless you want to learn how to be a loot goblin rat boy. But
hey,
Tack's perspective is going to be really good there.
There's a lot of good strategy in playing different ways. You could make a lot of money playing either way.
Yeah, well, like I said, we kind of run over our time here, a little bit longer episode than normal. We just wanted to make sure we got all the information that we felt was valuable to you all, even if we run a little over. Mm-hmm. But again, if you guys want any kind of interaction, to be a part of the community, to be more involved in these podcasts, join our Discord. We have a TnT Extracted Discord. Me and Tact have our own personal stream Discords as well. We stream most days. I think I stream more at night than Tac does. He streams more during the day and longer than I do during the day usually. So come join us, talk to us, man. We would love to hear anything that you have to say about anything, as long as it's not hateful. And I had a viewer, McCallie, and I mentioned him in the last episode. And he messaged me. He's like, "Oh, dude, you actually mentioned me in the last episode," because he came in, he started asking questions, and I was very engaged. He's watched both the episodes of the podcast, and he says he feels like he's learned a lot and gained valuable information as a new player. And that's kind of what we want to be here for. Also, keep us in mind if you see updates and you're unsure kind of how they are affecting you. We have tested or will test every single new change. Like me and Tac both tested the MDR today. I tested the AN94. I didn't test the M110, but that just seems like it just made it better. So I feel that's going to go. We definitely check out those updates and try to give you our viewpoint on it.
Absolutely. I'm especially going back. Thank you for the feedback and thank you for watching. We very much appreciate it. I enjoy doing this with Tuna. This is super fun. And especially it's just, I want to bring as many new players, and whether you're new, whether you're a veteran, it doesn't matter. I want to expand the community, keep the community growing, and I love the new content that they're releasing for ABI.
Yeah, and if you see something in our content that you say, hey, maybe I think this might be a better way to do something, or hey, that was kind of incorrect, dude, let us know. As long as you're like respectful, we will take constructive criticism, and we'll bring it up in the next episode. Hey, we said this, that may not have been correct. We have been playing the game since season 1, Tact a little bit longer than that actually. So we have a lot of experience, but as Tact and I were talking about earlier today, we learn new things pretty much, every day, or like every week we play the game. Like, oh, I didn't know that's how that worked. Oh, I didn't know that was in the game. Oh, we are keeping a lot better view on the updates lately. So since the start of the podcast, and we stream pretty regularly. So definitely reach out, dude. Reach out. Tell us how you
Absolutely.
feel.